Playing Jon Jones is fun to do. It's also very hard. Jon, if you confronted him with a really good plan and evidence, if it's not something he was completely comfortable with, simply would not do it. Jon's own people. Jon's a big star now, right? You guys love him. You guys probably, if you're newer fans, 5 years, have no idea what I'm even referencing. When Jon was champion of the world, his skills were known. He was Michael Jordan-esque for his craft, but could not sell at an arena. You probably don't even know what I'm talking about. Jon didn't have sponsors. Jon wasn't a hot commodity at press conferences. And one day he was. He absolutely was. And Jon even spoke to it. He said, my own people, my PR team, my coaches, my people, my circle have told me to embrace being the bad guy, but I never did it because I'm not a bad guy. I love Jesus. This was Jon talking. Jon actually said these words. He said, I love Jesus. How can you love Jesus and see yourself as the bad guy? And it was one of those things where there is an answer, but my brain works on like a higher level. Like I would really have to dumb myself down to give an eloquent answer to that. And I don't see that like as to push his face like the puppy that missed the paper. I'm saying there is such an obvious answer to that, but I don't know that I would be the one to give it to you. I will just acknowledge for you that it does exist and wish you well as you continue upon your journey of learning. But Jon showed up to a press conference. And he did just that. He did just that. He embraced the bad guy. The crowd went crazy for him. Here's Jon Jones, who could not be a bigger heel. He's got no belt. He's got no belt because the guy at the press conference with him, Daniel Cormier, has the belt. So Jon is going to return to take on the almighty Daniel Cormier, who not only knows nothing about drugs. Back when you guys were singing the praises of there's only one agency that can actually catch people, and that is USADA. Daniel Cormier had been with USADA since 2002. Yes, he was an Olympian in 4, but his reign in America started in 2. So his time with USADA started in 2002. And yes, every day, week, month, year, decade after that, until summer of 2008, Daniel was with USADA. But there was nobody claiming bad things about him like they did with Jon. Nobody that was an eyewitness to bad things saying, I was there. I watched him do bop, bop, bop. Daniel didn't have anything like that. And there he is with the belt against the guy that doesn't have the belt and who, by the way, has a rap sheet. And this is his first time coming in. Like everybody that understood anything knew who the good guy was and the bad guy. And the good guy's the one up there with the gold belt, the beautiful smile, who's been operating under the rules, and is named Daniel Cormier. In case you guys haven't got there yet, the bad guy is the one underdressed, looks like he does not want to be there, loves that it's in Vegas, but just wants to get free again. That's what he actually has, this look of, can we get this over with? And that's Jon Jones. And he embraced the heel side. In fact, Jon Jones had been clean for, was it 8 months? And the crowd, gave him a huge ovation. Might have even been standing. I was in the building, but I was behind the scenes, so I couldn't tell if you guys were standing or not. But it was the loudest part of the night, is that Jon hadn't used cocaine in, I believe, a 9-month period. And Daniel was sitting there going, hey, wait a minute. And he actually says this out loud. He says, you're cheering him that he hasn't been caught using cocaine in 9 months. I am 37 years old. I've never touched cocaine. Thinking that he would win the fans back to his side. Not to mention, he was using logic and reality. He was right. He was completely right. The crowd booed him for saying it. They booed him for saying it because there must be no virtue in that, Daniel. If you are not tempted to use cocaine, then the fact that you've never used cocaine isn't a sign of strength. Jon over here is tempted by cocaine. And we don't know how many times he says no, but we just know in the last 9 months he's been consistent at saying no. So it is virtuous for him. The crowd goes crazy. When that was over, Jon said he embraced his heel side. And Jon, for the first time ever, started fighting in arenas where the rafters did not look like people dressed up as empty seats. Jon, for the first time ever, starts looking at his post-fight participation checks coming from the UFC, and all of a sudden is saying, wow, I didn't know we renegotiated my contract. Look at this. Thank you, Malky. Thank you, Uncle Dana. And Malky and Uncle Dana are both saying that's the same money as you could have got all along and as you will get moving forward, as long as the people keep caring and coming out to watch you. It was an interesting thing to watch unfold. And I wonder exactly what Jon's power is. Jon is not the sport's biggest draw. He is not right now's biggest star or draw. He does not have any records you could turn to. And he's had some massive fights, but he doesn't have any records that you could turn to. Well, Conor's got this and this and this. Oh, but Conor won't get that one. That one. Ooh, Jon Jones has that nailed down. They go back to Conor. No, Conor's got them all. Jon's not even on the list. He's not even on the list. Not for merchandising, not for LiveGate, not for linear TV simple ratings, not for clicks and views on .coms, which, by the way, have a perfect audit. It's not only audited perfectly, it's publicly audited perfectly. He does not hold a record anywhere. But I still do think he has some power. Because while it's true and we are waiting for a foot to drop, Jon does possess everything that a mega star needs to have. I mean, even Elvis didn't sell very many albums when he stops making albums and runs off between military or making movies. But like Don McLean said, the king was looking down. So Jon Jones, it's very hard to do great numbers with a guy that's only fought once in 3 years. It's very difficult. And I share this with you largely because if we take all of those things together, right? One thing that Jon wants is he wants to be known by you, by the community, as the best. The end. Jon really showed his hand, and I respected it a lot, by the way, but Jon really showed his hand when Khabib asked the audience. He asked the ranking committee members, please, it was right in the octagon after his fight with Justin Gaethje. The rankings come out next Tuesday. I am retired. I am of this moment never going to fight again. So the only ranking that I'm ever eligible for, again, that you have no choice and you must rank me, is this week's rankings, considering I fought this week. Please make me number one. And Khabib had never gotten higher than number 2 and generally hung out around that 4 spot. And they did it. They did it. They gave it to him. And now you're in the death of Khabib's career, largely which ended with the death of his father. Jon Jones knew those things. The rankings committee knew it. They showed heart. They had sympathy. It trumped everything. They wrote Khabib's name in. When they wrote Khabib's name in, Jon Jones spoke up and was furious. Furious. That with a heartfelt plea, he could lose his number 1 ranking. And I loved it about Jon. I loved it because he gave us a glimpse into who he is truly as a competitor. And he is ruthless. And he will operate without heart. And he doesn't want some of it. He wants to take it all. And I like that concept. I appreciate it. Khabib did not stay there for long. He did not instantly come down, but he did not stay there for long. And one reason that you're going to get more Jon Jones, and Jon Jones left the weight class, and Jon Jones took his time and asked all of you, who should it be? Tom Aspinall is not a name that you said. Sergey Pavlich is not a name that you guys said. He listened to you. You said Stipe. That's the direction that he's going. Now, all of a sudden, it's not Stipe. It's back to Tom. And one thing that will really drive Jon crazy is, how can I get to what I want, which is just that the people adore and recognize me as the best? How can I get there if the opponent that I asked the people is the right opponent, if they keep switching that on me? Which is going to leave a real conversation when the Stipe matter is done. It's going to leave a real conversation between Tom Aspinall and Alex Pereira. Now, I have told you guys that I can't say any more than this, that I'm not guaranteeing you're going to see Pereira against Aspinall. I'm not guaranteeing you that. What I can share with you behind scene information, they would like to see Pereira versus Aspinall. I got to leave it at that. But what if Jon called for that fight? Pierre, after all, is trying to get to Jon. Not overly hard, but he is trying. Pierre, by example, is willing to go through Tom Aspinall to be guaranteed that shot at Jon. Or he can stay at 205, got a great opponent, number one contender down there in Uncle Live. But it doesn't mean he's not open to the idea. Aspinall specifically wants Jones. That's it. Not the winner of Jones and Stipe. He's convinced that it's Stipe. I want Jon Jones. He's got blinders on, but what would happen? Because Aspinall's going to be there in the front row. They're going to throw a camera to him. See if Jon retires, see if Jon wins. See if Stipe retires, see if Stipe wins. But Pierre is going to be in that same front row. They're going to throw a camera on him. We just saw this happen 2 weeks ago. One of those guys got the nod. Lopez, Volkanovski were in the same camera shot. Only Volk was smart enough to run in the octagon. Now all of a sudden when you tell that story, you don't even bring up Lopez. Do you think that if Tom heads for the ring, Pierre is going to let him go alone? And moreover, if you have a really great choice for Jon, and it's between Pierre and it's between Aspinall, but Jon has learned one thing. Because whichever one you guys say, as soon as he signs that, you're going to switch to the other. So couldn't Jon outsmart everybody if Jon, instead of accepting a fight, he called for a fight? He says, I'll fight the winner, make no mistake. But I'm not overly impressed with you, Alex, who's done nothing at heavyweight. And I'm not over impressed with you, Tom, just because I'm not overly impressed with you. Things that he recently just said. So what if he told them, what if he said, so why don't you boys get together? I'll accept the outcome, but I'm not going to do this a whole bunch more times. I'm going to do this one more time. So make damn sure you bring me the absolute best guy. And I think the way to do that is for you guys to fight for it instead of talk for it. What would happen then? It's a what if. But Jon Jones never makes fights after a fight, not for himself. Never tells us who's next, never calls somebody else, always buys some time, always relieved and happy in the moment. What if? He's got them both there. What if? Jon wants to fight again. What if? Jon wants to fight the absolute baddest guy in your opinion. Whoever has that perception, that's who he wants. That's the credit he wants. So what if is a way of getting it? He identifies those two super hard guys. And right there in the cage, on the microphone, Jon makes that fight. Be very interesting. One of them's going to storm that cage, hoping to get the opportunity. I don't think the other one of them is foolish enough to let one have that opportunity, thus taking the opportunity. I think they're both going to jump in there. And I think if they both jump in there, instead of Jon addressing both of them, I think he used that time on the mic. He point to both of them. He remind them of Tom's belt, which is no longer needed because we aren't in an interim without a champion. It's just a contender. And I think Jon should make that fight.